Canada and Mexico are charting a new course in their bilateral relations, committing to strengthen cooperation across trade, security, and regional economic initiatives amid mounting economic and political pressures from the United States. Welcome viewers to my channel. Please subscribe, like my video and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next update. This move was highlighted during a high-profile meeting in Mexico City between Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney and Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum. Both leaders emphasized that their partnership is not merely bilateral but also deeply connected to the broader North American framework, which includes the United States as a critical economic and security partner. Speaking to reporters, Carney underscored the complementary nature of Canada, Mexico, and the U.S., highlighting how collaboration strengthens all three nations. "We complement the United States, we make them stronger, and we are all stronger together," he said, emphasizing that North American prosperity is intertwined. Sheinbaum echoed this sentiment, noting that Mexico values strong, respectful partnerships with its neighbors while asserting its sovereignty and independence in trade and economic policy. Both Canada and Mexico face a challenging trade environment due to tariffs imposed by the Trump administration. Canadian steel has been subjected to a 50% duty, while Mexican pharmaceutical products carry a 25% levy. Additionally, a 25% fentanyl tariff was imposed on Mexico, ostensibly to curb the flow of illegal drugs into the United States. These tariffs have disrupted supply chains, affected multiple sectors, and increased uncertainty for businesses in both countries. For Canada, the tariffs on steel and aluminum hit key industries and have ripple effects across construction, manufacturing, and infrastructure development. Vehicles, oil, and gas are also targeted with sector-specific tariffs ranging from 10% to 25%, compounding the challenges for Canadian exporters. Mexico has faced similar disruptions, though much of its trade remains exempt under the USMCA framework, a fact that has helped mitigate some of the impact. Carney's visit marks his first official trip to Mexico as Prime Minister, reflecting Canada's renewed interest in cultivating a closer relationship with its southern neighbor. Relations between the two countries have historically been cordial but occasionally tense, particularly in the context of North American trade negotiations. Last year, tensions surfaced when Canadian officials were accused of exploring a separate trade deal with the U.S. during tariff discussions, a move seen by some Mexican officials as undermining trilateral solidarity. At the time, Sheinbaum emphasized the importance of respecting Mexico's sovereignty and culture, remarking that Canada could only wish they had the cultural riches that Mexico has. This statement reflected Mexico's long-standing sensitivity to perceptions that it has been sidelined in North American trade relations, often taking a backseat to the U.S.-Canada dynamic. Thursday's meeting conveyed a far warmer tone, signaling a desire to move past previous disagreements. The two leaders exchanged gifts, engaged in cordial discussions, and presented a united front during a joint press conference. Carney stressed the long-term vision of the partnership. "Our agreement today will expand and deepen the partnership, so that the next 30 years hold even greater promise than the last 30 years have delivered." Trade remains the cornerstone of the Canada-Mexico partnership. In 2024, bilateral trade between the two countries reached $56 billion, $40.5 billion, £30 billion, spanning sectors such as automotive parts, machinery, electronics, agriculture, and manufacturing. Both countries expressed a commitment to further expanding trade, exploring opportunities to diversify supply chains, and mitigating the risks posed by U.S. tariffs and shifting global markets. Analysts note that closer economic ties are particularly advantageous for Canada, given the setbacks its exports have suffered in 2025. While Mexico's exports to the U.S. have remained relatively resilient, Canadian goods, especially steel, aluminum, and automotive products, have been disproportionately affected by tariffs. Strengthening trade with Mexico could provide Canada with a strategic buffer, allowing it to reduce dependence on the U.S. market and gain access to alternative supply chains. Beyond trade, the two leaders addressed pressing security issues, including border security and transnational organized crime. Both Canada and Mexico recognize that economic growth is contingent on stability and safety, and that criminal networks and illicit trade have direct economic consequences. Coordinated approaches in combating cross-border crime are seen as essential for protecting economic interests and ensuring that U.S. tariffs are not applied under the guise of security concerns. It's a subtle dance, said Sebastián Vallejo Vera, a political scientist at Western University. Canada and Mexico want to show unity, without appearing to gang up on the U.S. This careful balancing act reflects the reality that both nations must maintain productive relations with Washington while asserting their own interests. A central element in this new chapter of Canada-Mexico relations is the United States-Canada-Mexico Agreement, USMCA, the modernized version of NAFTA that came into effect in 2020. The USMCA governs trilateral trade in goods, labor, and services, aiming to enhance competitiveness and economic integration across the continent. It is set for review in 2026, and preliminary consultations are already underway as Washington solicits input from American businesses regarding potential changes. Both Canada and Mexico have strongly supported the USMCA, citing its role in stabilizing trade and boosting North American competitiveness. Analysts argue that by coordinating more closely, the two nations can protect the integrity of the agreement, ensure fair market access, and push back against protectionist policies that threaten their economic interests. Observers note that Canada may have more to gain from closer ties with Mexico than vice versa. Professor Vera explained that Canada's exports to the U.S. have declined, while Mexican exports have largely held steady. Furthermore, Canada has historically prioritized its relationship with the U.S., sometimes at Mexico's expense, leaving room for renewed cooperation that benefits both sides. The current geopolitical environment, defined by U.S. protectionism, trade uncertainty, and shifting global economic conditions, is forcing both countries to reassess their partnership. These are unprecedented times, Professor Vera said. Canada and Mexico are now being pushed to redefine their relationship in a way that balances unity with the United States against national interests and regional stability. The renewed Canada-Mexico partnership extends beyond trade and tariffs. Energy exports, cross-border supply chains, and infrastructure projects are all intertwined with North American stability. For example, Canada and Mexico are both major suppliers of energy products, and disruptions in trade could have ripple effects on prices and availability in the U.S. market. Similarly, the automotive industry relies heavily on integrated supply chains spanning all three countries, making coordinated policy essential. Moreover, joint efforts to address organized crime and drug trafficking underscore the interconnectedness of security and economic prosperity. By presenting a united front, Canada and Mexico aim to reduce the likelihood of U.S. punitive measures being justified on security grounds while enhancing the overall stability of the region. The Carney-Sheinbaum meeting signals a strategic recalibration of North American relations. Both countries recognize that in an era marked by protectionism and economic uncertainty, they cannot act in isolation. Their future prosperity depends on collaboration, resilience, and adaptability. For Canada, Mexico offers a partner that can help diversify trade and strengthen regional influence. For Mexico, Canada provides an ally that supports economic and political stability in a complex and often unpredictable North American environment. This renewed emphasis on bilateral cooperation represents a turning point. It suggests that Canada and Mexico are ready to take a more assertive and strategic approach to North American affairs, one that balances national interests with regional stability. By fostering closer economic ties, coordinating on security issues, and maintaining a constructive dialogue with the U.S., both nations are demonstrating that partnerships can be both pragmatic and visionary, rooted in mutual benefit while preparing for an uncertain global future. Ultimately, this partnership is about more than just trade or tariffs. It is about reshaping the North American landscape, forging a framework for cooperation that will endure amid economic, political, and social challenges. It is a recognition that the next chapter in Canada-Mexico relations will require foresight, flexibility, and a shared commitment to the prosperity and security of the continent.